Yes, yes. Welcome to the ancient world of tabletop games. I am Agamemnon from the historical documentary Time Bandits. This is a report from a fugitive. In my video on metal coins, I felt I was done buying metal coins for props in board games and role-playing games. Almost immediately after I made that video, a deal came up and I bought more metal coins. I'd fallen victim to the conspiracy of the money off voucher with an expiry date. In 6 months of scouring the website, I didn't see anything I could buy at a saving using that voucher. Games I didn't want were right there, of course. They always are. The games I wanted weren't available, or they were much cheaper elsewhere, negating the voucher. I was being very Scottish in trying to gain full value out of the voucher. With a day to go, I saw the metal coins appear in front of me, cheaper than elsewhere. With no additional postage and money off as an added lure, I pounced. These coins are for a game called Scythe. I'm not sure I'll ever buy that game, but here are the coins for use as tokens in role-playing games, I think. The Scythe coins are often described as bargains, stacked next to the treasure piles of overpriced board game and RPG coins out there. That was one reason the Scythe coins were always on my mind. The more specialised the make, the fewer coins in a batch you'll buy for the lofty asking price. Scythe coins were worth a go. I'd have to rob a stagecoach to purchase those Carson City shekels. These coins benefit from different colours and sizes, handy for video purposes. Since you ask, I bought 2 sets. That's what you're seeing here. The hole in the penny piece is a nice touch, conjuring images of Chinese coins. It isn't too much of a stretch of the imagination to suppose that these are strung together in a game of Dungeons and Dragons and dropped on the bar inside a wood-smoked inn at the start of an autumnal adventure. This video is a return to the notion of buying loot for use in games given recent upgrades. What else did I improve? Here's Professor Evil and his quirky Citadel of Time. I'd describe the board as a little busy visually. When I checked the game components, I saw they matched the board thematically, perhaps a little too thematically. There are the black walls, understandable, but the wooden pieces for doors are also black and tend to blend into the background when placed. I measured the wooden door pieces and found identical wooden game components online, same size but in red. For video purposes, I think the red doors pop out at the viewers a little more. Board games are rarely bought in isolation. First, do your research. Hit the online board game database, the BGG, and find out how the game is described by its own manufacturer in the overview section. Check for files, rules updates. Watch gameplay or component videos if you can find them, and if you don't find videos, the game isn't out yet, or it's long out of print and no one ever got around to making a video of it. Alternatively, no one plays the game listed. Read the complaints in the forums section. For this game, I found one complaint about the doors not standing out all that well against the background. Busy boards look great and receive plaudits. Quieter boards are criticised for their supposed blandness, even though the look may be a deliberate attempt at making playing pieces stand out more easily. The pastel tones of 878 Vikings are just about right for the vibrant playing pieces in that game, for example, and I prefer the board to be that way, less busy, more often than not. Judge the busy nature of this board with the original playing pieces in place, and take a look at the replacement doors I bought in. Upgrading your game doesn't always mean buying statuettes to replace basic pawns. Occasionally you'll find your own easy fix for a board gaming problem. Use blank dice, poker chips, playing cards, whatever you can lay hands to. I'm always returning to these compartmented boxes. Loot for board games? In a sense, storage is also loot. Time to tally the haul. 17 on the shelves so far, including this spare. I picked up 3 spares when I saw them sitting lost and unloved on a shelf in the shop. Almost immediately I used 2 when a batch of games arrived. They hold up to 20 compartments apiece, and I think they are about the right size for most of the games on my shelves. There are many other storage items in play, usually for larger games with far more components. This upgrade is almost perfect for the game Elder Sign and the extra material from the expansions incorporated straight into the main game. Also, this is the only storage box I could find that accepts the dreaded clock prop, and yes, I measured in the shop to see if the box would take that clock. I've experimented with replacements for game pawns. There's nothing wrong with your basic pawns. I think I'll sneak Jack here over from Whitechapel into the Professor Evil game. Professor needs a villainous hat, methinks. What are the central considerations for upgrading playing pieces? Cost is the main factor. Size features now and again. Convenience is the other major consideration. If the colour schemes aren't colourblind friendly, then basic pawns need a greater degree of differentiation from one another. That process begins at the design stage, and more companies are paying attention to the problem now. For this video channel, with a lot of overhead shots, it's worth buying in meeples that lie flat, as with these pandemic replacements. In the case of tiny epic kingdoms, placing the meeples flat means something else in the game. There are rules about meeples being knocked over. If I place all of the meeples flat for filming purposes, I need to add some element to the game to signify a meeple is down according to the rules. Blank dice should fill that purpose nicely. Here and there I've gone with a 3D upgrade. These are twinples, character-based meeples that stand in for the original pieces. I'd already bought the wooden meeples for Pandemic, and I think I prefer the wooden meeple approach to upgrading pawns for that game, given that Pandemic really suits an overhead camera view. Anyway, I'd have to buy in a lot of Pandemic twinples to upgrade all over again, and I just don't feel like it. For King Domino and Queen Domino, I felt the twinples matched the quirkiness of the game, and I bought a few twinples for Istanbul, if only to reduce the use of components with stickers on them. These pieces were designed to fit on top of those stacks with a minimum of fuss. Do not allow the clumsy player near the board. That has nothing to do with upgrading to twinples, just generally, do not allow the clumsy player near the board. When considering loot for your games, think over the cost, imagine the convenience, see if you can match the two. Perhaps you're buying in official upgrades, coins for your game of Scythe, for example. Alternatively, you go after handy items that are compatible with a game, third-party stuff that can only really be used for a game of Queen Domino. Then there's the do-it-yourself improvised stuff that makes your Fury of Dracula map a little less bland, say. Have I made the board far too busy? Fury of Dracula's map needs the sort of differentiation going on across it that clearly existed in maps of the era. So why not take inspiration from maps of the era? Was that too obvious a move for the designers? This board was too quiet, and I had to do something for video shots as well as for gameplay. Clumsy players need not apply. There's no call to spend the earth or buy the moon on a stick to upgrade a board game. You will see the occasional expensive item on this channel, but there's plenty of stuff down in the cheap seats to keep a game rolling along. For every custom limited edition dice tray, there's a box of wooden bobbins coloured in using felt tip pens. We made do in our role-playing games. It's nice to have luxuries on a channel like this. The visual element of top-class loot provides a spot of drive to the narrative. But recognise that luxuries are luxuries, even if you pick them up at a steal with the use of a voucher. This time, I'll definitely not be upgrading to metal coins again. I can't say the same of purchasing storage boxes. By law, I must add storage to a game if it fails a Stark test complete with challenges involving archery, rope swinging, and yodeling. And that is a board gaming fact.